Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am here to talk about what I read in, I wanted to say March. Dates have been getting fumbled and muddied up as of recent, but February. What I read in February. What's happening? What did I read? I wanted to do more readings and all that, but I haven't. I got ideas. Things I want to do, things I want to try, but so far all I've been doing with tarot and oracle cards is pulling my cards a day when I can. Today's card is the Ten of Discs. Lovely card. From the Marea Tarot, and I got the Deva of Water from the Devas of Creation by Scylla Conway. A really good deck. I hope eventually she can reprint it in a new edition. Anyways, not to harp on here. So we're just gonna go through what I read in order. I think it's in order. It's been a month, so I'm like, ooh, I know what I read, but anyways, so first thing I finished, my last video, I was like, let me go back and see what I actually read and what I've been what I finished and what I didn't. I thought I finished Elantris in February. I'm like, no. No. I was like, ooh, I read so many. I'm like, oh wait, no. So Inheritance Trilogy, I finished the 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, and I liked it. Definitely, like I said, much like Elantris, definitely one of her earlier works. I believe, is it her first book? I could be wrong. It's probably not. I should have looked it up, but that's not what we're here for. Loved it. First book, great. Kind of saw where it was going, but I did like how it was written. I like how she writes. I like how N.K. Jemisin writes. I should have. I wish I could have, been more into reading. And at the time when this book came out, when did these books come out? Let me see here. 2010. Yeah. 2010 to 2011. Huh. Okay. Oh, these are already like, oh, these are almost like a decade old. Even like yeah. Yeah, so I believe this is her first. This might be her first. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments down below. But I am a stan, like I said in my last video. This was great. I'm ready for the next book to read in there, and I'm also ready to read the Obelisk, but I'm going to read, like, I'm gonna do like a whole trilogy thing because I'm reading the Mistborn trilogy, her Broken Earth trilogy, right? Broken Earth? Yeah. This trilogy right here, and then other series as well, like Words of Radiance, also which is by Brandon Sanderson. That book 2 I'm on. Earthsea I'm on book 2. Even though I finished book 2 on Mistborn, I'm like, okay, let me do a whole book 2 thing later on and see and read multiple series as I go. But anyways, loved it. Not I didn't like it as much as the 5th season. But I will say this. I like it. If this was, I believe this might be. It almost reads like a little bit like, not to bag on, fan fiction or AO3 writers or, Wattpad writers or anything like that. Um, but it does kind of read that way, but good, you know. And if this type of writing is in those websites, and the reason why I wouldn't read it is because it's a lot of trudging through the muck to kind of get to something as good as this, and yeah, so I'm ready to. I'm looking forward to continuing reading more of her work. I recommend it. Get the whole book. It's not too expensive to get the whole thing, and you get 3 books and a novella. Though of course she did release another novella like not too long ago to this series, and I'm like, girl, enough. But keep going. But enough. So yeah, the next book I read, was it this book? I believe it was this book. If not, I'll talk about one book that I don't have with me because I moved it along. AKA I gave it to Goodwill. But the book that I read after somehow was A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This reads like a it's very much a found footage in text form. Reading it, I was like, is this house right? Wait, what? The house is like, it's a whole thing. And it's very much a book where you can't rely on the narrator, which is the youngest daughter of this family. And it's a horror story about a very much like Exorcism of Emily Rose meets Last Exorcism meets oh my gosh, another book that I moved along because I was like, oh, this is what I thought it was going to be this, but no, was I think it's called Last Days by the guy that wrote The Ritual, Neville? Something Neville maybe? I can't remember. But I was very disappointed in Last Days. But this gave me what I wanted from Last Days. It gave me the found footage. It scratched that found footage itch in horror that I like, and does a really good job. I like it. I was like, my eyes were squinting at distrust at a lot of things. One thing that I keep coming back to is one person on, I think it was on Bookstagram. I'm not on Book Talk. I'm barely on TikTok. But on Bookstagram, on the reels, they were like, this book gets into your head, and I'm like, not really. I was second guessing a lot of things. I was doubting everything. I didn't trust anything that was going on. I just took everything on like, okay, there were some very creepy, disturbing scenes in this book, and in the end, it was quite sad, really, because there's like a slight betrayal, and honestly, it's like, the depiction of like, oh, this girl was not well, something was wrong, something definitely wasn't right, but whether that was because of some supernatural forces or it was because of of this teenage girl messing with people, because she needed help. And yeah, the dad also is a character that you see devolve into an antagonist as well in the end, and it's like it's quite sad, and how it's not a happy ending. It's not a happy ending, and in the end, you're very much like, wait, what? And you're like, oh, but you're like, wait a minute. So there was something lacking in it. What it is, I cannot pinpoint. But I would like to see this as a movie. It might even be is it a movie? No, it's not a movie. It looks like a movie cover. It reminds me of Session 9. I think in the back they even like recommend like a bunch of horror movies and books and all that. And I'm like, yeah, yep. Let me see. No, that's all the books. Yeah, Session 9 right there. And I'm like, yeah, because there's some, references in the book that, I'm like, oh, I've heard of this, like a flood of molasses, and then there was a story about poisonous plants. Anyways, I enjoyed it. It was creepy, and I would like to see it come to life on screen, and I feel like this is a very easy book to adapt to screen. Like, I would like to see it. Very much like a modern, definitely a modern Exorcism of Emily Rose. So for this one, you're just going to see my hands because I don't have the book with me, and I'm too lazy to edit in a picture of the book here. And that is Hidden Pictures by, I cannot remember his name. Let me Google that real quick. It was a quick read. And it reminded me of, Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. Let me see if I can get a good picture of it. Yeah, this... No. I'm like, yeah, this book here. And it's not like it wasn't the worst book, but there were parts in there that I was like, oh, this got published. this wasn't in the this couldn't have been edited or something, or I was like, oh, they really wrote in. I really wasn't. Um, I really didn't like the Mexican representation in what in the book. Um, it was very cringy. It was definitely like I was like, oh yeah, for sure, a white man is trying to make this a thing, and I was like, no, 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 this is cringe. But I did like the creepy drawings. I did like the story in the end. I was like, you can totally see where it's going. Definitely like Big Little Lies, where you're like, oh, I totally see what's going on here. This twist is, I see it coming, but I want to see it play out. I know it's going to happen, but I just want to sit back and watch it happen. And I was like, mm-hmm, yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, I think it was good. The only thing that really helped market the book, I guess, was the children's drawings throughout the book. Um, and it's and it reminds me of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And I think they even got, I think Ransom Riggs, the author of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, that series, I think even he like gave a little quote that they used as on the cover of the book or something, or on the on it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, because that's all like, oh, these creepy pictures of these children, and that's like one of the selling points of like it's a story with you know images and all that, and art that play a part in telling the story. Again, I think it's a book that would be fun to see adapted into a movie or a show. But honestly, it like plays on that trope of creepy children doing creepy drawings, and it shows, and it feeds into that like as the main focus of it, rather than as just a small slight scene in some horror films. Um, and the one thing that I did wish there was a bit more of, and I felt like this book was gonna go more into it, is that it starts off with this main character having this ability to sense when someone's watching her, essentially. And it only shows up once after that, and then like it doesn't show up ever again. Like I don't know what that had to do with anything else. Maybe I'm missing the point. Would I reread it to find out, or like pay more attention to it? No. the the yeah, I'm just no. It's wasn't garbage to where I couldn't finish it, because the pacing was good enough that I was like, okay, things are happening. We're things are happening, things are going, things are processing. What I did like was the small, like not the small, but like the shift of like, oh, you think the dad is doing something, but it turns out, oh no, 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 he's not the one. He's actually, oh no, 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 so yeah, I don't want to spoil it if you guys are interested in reading it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I think if some things were changed or fixed or written differently, I feel like it would have been much better. So yeah, there was just some jarring dialogue between the characters sometimes too. I was like, ooh, ooh. But I read through it and I was like, okay, okay. But what wasn't terribly written, and what I feel like is honestly weirdly like marketed to, I don't know, this is just me. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's more marketed to a more feminine audience, or a female audience for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because it's maybe because of the tag here, but I feel like even before I even saw it with this prize here, Women's Prize for Fiction 2021 winner, but this is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This is great. I loved this. This was really well written. It knows I'm like, it's a short length, and so it knows when it's overstayed its welcome. Because I feel like if it were anything any longer than this, it would have been, I would not have, I would not have enjoyed it as much. It's good. This needs to be a movie, for sure, absolutely. I definitely, again, saw the villain as what he was. I was like, I don't trust this man. No, but then again, I don't trust any white man. But yeah, anyways, beautifully written, beautifully written. And there, like, it tingled my occult tarot brain in a way that I was like, oh, no other books is doing it like this for me. And at times I found, starting off, it was a little awkward trying to visualize what she is describing, or rather what the character Piranesi is describing in his journals. And so yeah, I think this is the book that House of Leaves wanted to be but couldn't. No tea, no shade to House of Leaves, but I tried reading that, and the House of Leaves though did creep me out in its first part. I was like, oh shit, I put it down. I was like, wait, what's behind me? And I was like, oh, my back is against the wall. But this one was much more. It's not creepy. It's weird. It's unsettling. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a video game that I'm playing right now called Control. I just finished the main storyline. I didn't want to, but I was like, how I played it, I was like, oh wait. But anyways, and it's very much similar to that, of like this labyrinthine growing building house that's bigger than that. Though, of course, this isn't like a building. This is like a dimension that they're in. And it's all about that. It reminds me a lot of like reading and looking into some of like the Golden Dawn occult mystery schools and their infighting that they had. A lot of that plays a part in this book as well. It does get a little weird with like the dates here. So here it's like each chapter is a date, and here it says entry for the 30th day of the 5th month in the year the albatross came to the southwestern halls. Like, okay, listen, like I like you, because what's happening in the story you kind of want to pay attention to, but keeping track of the time is a little bit difficult for this in this book because of that. And I do like how this character Piranesi develops throughout the book. I don't want to spoil it, but it's seeing how Piranesi thinks. I wish I had that mindset. And it makes me want to read other books that I feel like would have a similar vibe. And I'm pretty sure people are going to be like, no, these don't have the same vibe at all. But I'm like, for some reason, the wisdom and the mindset that Piranesi has, I'm like, I want that, no problems, no stress, just vibes. And yeah, even though he's like an amnesiac and, and probably traumatized, but he still has an approach to the world that I think more people would benefit from. And that's what I really like. And I would like to see more characters throughout the world written like this, written like Piranesi, or that acted like Piranesi, if that makes sense. So yeah, shout out to Suzanne Clark. I look forward to reading, what's it called? Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell when I get my hands on it. But this is absolutely staying in my library. Yes. The next book I read is another horror book, and this one where people were saying that 13 Ghosts. I want to say 13 Ghosts, but no. A Head Full of Ghosts. Wait, isn't that a horror film? 13 Ghosts? I think it is. It reminds me a lot. The color palettes of that movie poster and The Head Full of Ghosts are the cover to Head Full of Ghosts are the same. But where people were saying, oh, this book got into your head. No. This book got in my head. Or rather, I was able to be in the mindset of these people, in the headspaces of these characters. So this is from the author of Bird Box. I don't plan on reading Bird Box. I watched the Netflix movie. And that was fine enough, Sandra Bullock with her Oh, look at that. A mosquito. Go away. Go away. They're like they're all coming out now because of the change of the season. But anyways, so this is Pearl by Josh Mallerman, and it is about a telepathic pig. Telepathic, probably telekinetic. Um, and this pig it's like Animal Farm meets Okja meets Tenders the Flesh meets uh Scanners. I think that's the movie Scanners. And it's crazy. It takes place over like a night, a day and a night, and it's about this pig that wreaks havoc and gets into and mentally controls everyone, and it just the violence that comes from that, and yeah, and Pearl is not the worst character in this book. I would say it's Bob Buck, I think, or Bo Buck, I think is his name. He's the worst character, and Pearl, rightfully so. Pearl did nothing wrong to him. Pearl is innocent, though. What Pearl does to everyone else, I was like, okay, Pearl, that was kind of like, overkill, Pearl. I don't think we needed to do that. But this book gets wild. I if they were to try to adapt this book movie into a movie, I don't know how they'd be able to do it. Um, they probably would be able to, but I feel like yeah, it's it's a wild one. Like I was describing this once, and I was describing this to my boyfriend, and he was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Yeah, hold on, wait for me." um, and so yeah, so I kind of want to read a few of his other books. I might read Goblin, which is like a collection of short stories that all take place in Goblin. And this book, apparently Pearl and Goblin, because right at the start, he like mentions Goblin, and I'm like, oh, right here, here, separating Chowder from Goblin. I was like, oh, so this is the same town, so this is the same universe, maybe. And yeah, the only problem that I had with this book was probably is probably the cover. I feel like the cover is a little too minimalist, though I also wasn't a big fan. I went and looked because it was previously published as on this day the pig on this the day of the pig, and I saw that cover and I was like, okay, I get it, but not it didn't evoke the same meaning. This kind of goes in there with the off white and the red. There, it kind of goes there. It very much reminiscent of It, the new cover that they have for Stephen King's It. Um, but yeah, but anyways, yeah, this book really like, oh, this fucking pig is gaslighting me. Like, wait, did this pig influence the fucking writer? Like, the mind games, the gaslighting, and also Pearl is a male pig, like just subverting expectations left and right. Like I love it. I love it. This is like if Black Phillip was the focus of The Witch. Like I would love to see. I'd love to see more. But of course, that's not how the book ends. The book ends very much in a way that I was like, if there's a sequel to this, I don't know how they're gonna do it. It's wild. It's wild and it's compact. It keeps going. I was like, oh, this is it. This is good. This is staying. This is staying on the bookshelves. I give it a 9 out of 10. What was it that I didn't like about it? Oh, right. Like some of the things that was being written, I was reading it and I'm like, am I visualizing this right? But I think that's a lot of the problems that I have with a lot of books that I read. I'm like, what am I supposed to visualize here? What am I supposed to see here? You know? So yeah. The next book I read is A Thick One. And she is a book that I don't know how I read through this book, but I did. I don't know why I like this book, but I did. I think it's just how it was written. It's a comfortable read and it's a somber read. And at times I was like, oh, is she trying to make me cry? Like apparently because of her reputation, I would say. I don't know. I'd like to see how she carries on after her initial breakout novel that really popped off on Book Talk and Bookstagram. But I read To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara, and her book A Little Life is the one that a lot of people talk about. But I always approach any creator's work via something that isn't their main most popular work. Like Donna Tartt, and people were talking about The Goldfinch and The Secret History. I decided to go for her least popular book, The Little Friend, and I actually enjoyed The Little Friend leagues more than The Goldfinch and The Secret History. And I think I really enjoyed this more as well. We really got a nice perspective uh, of of in one part, in the second part of the book, on Hawaiian culture and being Hawaiian. And I related a bit, not being Hawaiian myself, but I related to the idea of one of the comments, one of the parts in the book being, are you too Hawaiian or not Hawaiian enough, or are and I related to that being Mexican American and kind of being fucking whitewashed, you know, where I've lost my touch with Spanish. I can understand it, but I can barely speak it. And there's a lot of that. And this, so yeah, the book is weird. It's because in the way that its world building is lacking, um, where it's about an alternate history of the United States where part of the United States has legalized same-sex marriage. And so you can see here the book is divided very differently. And like obviously there's no like focus on like this area here. Like there's no discussion of like, again, this all was part of Mexico, and I'm again, my history on that is very not clean cut and clear, but this is all essentially, a lot of this was part of Mexico in history. So I'm like, you'd have to really know your history a little bit better, and I feel like we could have done a little bit more. But a lot of this focuses on Hawaii and New York, and that's about it. Yeah, it only focuses on those two parts throughout the book. Like we don't go anywhere else. We hear references to like the South, growing up there. Um, and so yeah, each part is called a book, and so you see here what's going on here. And so each book is about finding, again, going to paradise, reaching for that place that we want to be in. It's kind of about the grass being greener on the other side, but no, maybe more like searching for our own promised land. Like I'm because I read parts of Exodus recently, and that promise of the land of milk and honey. And the main focus, I think, comes in the second book, where it's, again, paradise in book 2 is called, is it this? Where is it? What's it called? It's like the second part. I don't know what it's called. It's a Hawaiian word, and it's about this dark forest that's, this dark, mysterious forest. And that's the point of it. But one of the things here that's a little bit inconsistent, and one of the things, maybe it's just my personal ideas on social issues coming through, and I'd be like, well, I probably wouldn't have gone like this with this book, was about essentially feminism and queer rights kind of going hand in hand. And, this kind of negates the feminist take on that. At times, not saying that this book is like misogynistic or anything, but one of the things that takes place here is, and this is one of the things that she makes a point about in one of her discussions of this book I saw on YouTube. She talks about how one of the things that drives a lot of these people in their decisions to marry the other characters in this is financial security, money. Money is a big drive to this, and she really did this as like pointing a finger to America and being like, is this the paradise you want to create for people? And it's like, yeah, I'm like, I see where she's coming at. Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is a lot of, you know, people kind of look down on people of a lower income and don't view them as a viable relationship status. They like to marry up economically. And which comes to play with, again, women in the patriarchal society that we grew up in, is that the only way that they could financially get any power was by marrying someone richer than they were, like and I also watched the movie Little Women, I think, after I finished this book, I think, and that plays a role in there with, I saw the Greta Gerwig uh version of Little Women. It makes me want to watch or possibly even read the classic, but no, no, I'm like, I have too much on my plate to read. But anyways, I like this book. I'm like, seeing what happens. There's not a lot of like action, only towards the very, very end where you're like, oh, is she gonna leave? But from what I read of the most of the book, I was like, okay, I'm ready to get a resolute conclusion, because that's not the point of this book. Very similar to, again, to reference Donna Tartt, again, the little friend, there's no resolution to the main driving thing of that book, which isn't a bad thing, because again, I still liked how it was written. It hooked me. I read through this nearly 800-page book, and I was like, yeah, it was a somber read, and at some time, in the first part, I was like, you're an idiot, David. And that's another thing. A lot of the characters in this book have the same names. So like there's a David, a Charles, and an Edward. Those are like the three names that are gonna like pop out throughout the whole book. And then there's also a Peter and I don't know what else. A Norris and an Aubrey. Those show up, but those are more side characters. What she meant with that, I'm not sure. This is a book that I really have to like sit down and be like, what was the author's intent of doing this? A lot of choices. And I think, the only flaw in this, like I said, is the lack of thorough world building. But it wasn't so bad to where it took me out of the story. I was still in it. I was still invested. I was still in the world that she created. But it made me like stop at sometimes and be like, wait, if it's like this, what about this other social issue? Like, what if it's like this? Like just things that I was like, what's going on here? Because there's still racism, and she says why, like, just, and I'm like, okay, that sucks, but you know what? That's not the point of this book. And but she touches on it again with the Hawaii, with the being indigenous Hawaiian, and that character's perspective, because I believe she lived in Hawaii for a while. I don't know if she grew up there, the author, but yeah, I liked it. I liked it. Also, one side note, I do like, this is the first time I actually like the paperback cover version, over the hardcover version, which is quite not unfortunate, but like, yeah, because I don't know how I feel about these, but because they're like, ooh, look what everyone's saying. I'm like, I don't care, but I do like the color, I do like the gold, and then this black background with this beautiful painting. It's great. I'm like, let me just say, don't spray it, Zach. And then the spine with that. Also, one more thing, Anchor Books, keep doing what you're doing with these paperbacks, because I love this. Look at this. I love that I love a floppy book. That's the name for their version of heaven or paradise. Love it. look at that. I don't have to hold it. I can just have it like that wherever this is what we want. This is what we want. Take notes, people. Take notes. So, yeah. All in all, I think I'd give it like a 9 out of 10, maybe. I look forward to A Little Life. Emotionally, probably not. But I'm ready to like read how she writes this book. I want to look forward to it. And possibly her first book, The People in the Trees. So yeah. So to after those highlights, after the high of reading Piranesi Pearl to Paradise, a lot of P's. A lot of P's in these. The one book I finished, two books I finished. I started and then I finished it. That I was really interested because queer representation is Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. There's a lot of anger in this book, rightfully so, but I feel like it's still YA writing. I feel like there's a lot of chances for there to be a lot of discussion in religion and spirituality, but I guess this is definitely a cry of anger at the trauma that a lot of religious groups have inflicted upon queer people. But again, sometimes the anger really does get in the way of the story sometimes, I feel, in this book. What I did like, though, was like how gory it was. It's very much like what was another book? Like Pearl, very much like Pearl, where there's a lot of gore and violence. This one, though, isn't, again, it's not, that's like the only like redeeming thing. There's gore in it. Not the fact that there's gore in it, but like how the gore is written is what I like about this. There's one character in this book, a side character. They're not very important to it, but it makes me, again, stop and think and be like, wait, what about this character? What's their thoughts on this? And that's the thing. I think the limited perspectives limits this book. I would have liked to see it, but it would have been too long. And I think one of the things that got in the way of this book, unfortunately, is the amount of representation that the author wanted to put into this book. Not that representation is a bad thing, but you have to know why you're doing it. One of the reasons why I got this book like 2022, I believe, or early 2023, and only now did I finish it this month, because at the very start of the book, not the very start, but near the beginning of the book, there is a moment where it's like, roll call for all the queer representation that I want in this book, and then it's like never fleshed out. So we have one character in this book that is Muslim, and I believe they're lesbian. I believe they're a lesbian woman, and they wear a headscarf, and I'm like, okay, so the main point of this book is that religious institutions have not religious. Here's the thing. This cult designed this virus that turns people into monsters. And the main view on this book is religion bad. Organized religion has caused a lot of trauma and hurt to queer people. The religion of Islam is not exempt from that, Disclaimer, context, obviously, but I would have liked to see that character, this Muslim character, interact with our main character and kind of challenge and give a different perspective to, you're even through all of this, even though you are queer, you still wear your headscarf. It seems that she still practices, or she still wears it as a part of her culture. Why is she, I would like to see why, just to flesh her out as a character in this post-apocalyptic world. You know, the world has ended. Her family, what was her family like? Was her family accepting, or was she in this community, the ALC, the ALC, that, you know, because her family disowned her? Like, what was her story? But there wasn't enough. It was just a Muslim character with a headscarf that I was like, why is she here? Why, you know, have her add stuff to the story, you know. But that's just me though. That is just me. But that's not the main focus of this book. The miss this you know, the I think the author really did want to vent out a lot of frustration uh that they experienced. I believe they themselves are trans as well. I believe. I could be wrong. Let me double check. Queer trans author from Virginia. Yeah. Yeah. It's as a book, this is I don't know. It's like there wasn't enough, but I don't want any more. You know. um, and there might be set up for a sequel, I believe. But I think I'm good. The YA of it all, no. I would have liked a little bit more being fleshed out here. And yeah, but not the worst, not the best. Give it a 7 out of 10, I think. Could have been better. Same with They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Again, I think I've come to the term that I'm done with YA, which I'm not through with, like, reading books that are aimed towards a younger audience. Like, I want to read The Neverending Story, or I think The Last Unicorn, I believe is another book, as well as continuing the books by from Howl's Moving Castle and Castle in the Air, Castle in the Sky, Castle in the Air, and then the House of Many Ways, and then what else? Cornelia Funke's books. I don't know what age demographic is Inkheart and all that. I want to reread those, the Inkheart trilogy. But yeah, anyways, back to this though. They Both Die at the End, by Adam Silvera. I like that it's, you know, gay, but I feel like the relationship it just happened all of a sudden. Like, there's like hints to it, yeah, but like it doesn't. There's the chemistry isn't there until after they kiss all of a sudden towards the end, and then they both die at the end. And there was parts where I was like, oh, is this how it's gonna happen? Oh, is this how it's going? It did have me it did keep me on my toes as to, like, oh, what's gonna happen? Where's it going? How are they gonna die? How are they gonna die? And then it happens, and I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, this is, I don't know. It makes me wonder why the gay romance was put in at the end. You know, because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't, yeah. uh, I'm only keeping it for sentimental reasons. I probably won't read anything else from Adam Silvera. Also, why Adam Silvera? Snack. Like, he's probably the most attractive author I've seen. He's not a terrible writer, but some of the dialogue, like Rufus's dialogue, like, if it was a bit annoying at times. But that being said, they are teenagers, but I feel like, I don't know, it just, yeah, possibly teetered on pandering, but I don't know, I can't describe it. I will admit I did kind of fly through this a little bit too fast, but I did just want to read it and finish it. And yeah, I was, yeah, but I think it didn't let me enjoy the book as much as I wanted to. But I think I'm just in a mood of like not enjoying YA at the moment, and I think that's where I'm at right now. So yeah, that's the last book that I read. Not all of them were winners, but a lot of highlights. Again, like ones that I recommend. The top two that I recommend for sure: Piranesi and To Paradise. Those two. If you want something longer, To Paradise. If you want something shorter, Piranesi. Either way, you're in for some yummy writing. That's what I'm gonna call it. So yeah, and so here are some books that I'm going to try to read through this month. Hopefully, this big chunker right now is what I'm kind of reading through at the moment, and that's the Priory of the Orange Tree. The cover just stood out to me when it first came out. The cover, the bright yellow with this beautiful blue dragon and the blue word, like beautiful cover design. First of all, and they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but I'm always like, well, you kind of want to dress it up the best, don't you? And yeah, she has written other stuff that I've seen. The Bone Season is her most well known, but I was like, this I really want to read. And so yeah, there's dragons. It's been a minute since I read anything with the dragons in them. So yeah, I'm on chapter 5 so far. It's going. I started reading it. I read like the first chapter, then I stopped. I reread it, then I stopped. Okay, so this is third time's the charm, I guess. And so I'm like, okay, again, how she's writing, I'm having some issues with how she writes, but I'm gonna keep reading and see how it goes. That being said, I'm like, like, what, like, how, like again, I'm questioning like what I should be visualizing when she writes. She's not as descriptive as I want her to be, I think. Though she does describe the dragons pretty well, I will say that. Yes. The next book I'll try to reach, it may be for next month, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is, again, one that's been recommended a lot. And it's well known. Sympathetic magic takes place in this. So that's one. Another one I may try and read. We'll see. It's another one that's like weirdly dense. And this is one that I think is a little bit, I don't know. I don't know how to approach this book, but it's weird. I'll keep it at that. From what I've read, I think I read like the first chapter or part of the chapter, is that it's weirdly dense. Yeah, these are long chapters, 30-page chapters. That's quite long versus like, They Both Die at the End and Hell Followed With Us, where those are like sometimes like only like 2-page chapters, and I'm like, let's keep it at that. For some reason those, yeah, but there's a lot going on here, and it's gay. I'm curious. I want to see, and yeah, don't be mad at me. The next books I might read again. We'll see if I get to them. These are much smaller books. I think I'll try and get through them. Here's For the Gays, Lie With Me by Philippe Besson, and The City on the Pillar by Gore Vidal. He is one that only writes historical fiction, but this book I believe this was his second book. And they were like, why are you going to write this? This is like, what's going on here? And I'm like, let's see what this is, because I don't know. I see this picture and I'm like, is he? There's no heterosexual explanation for this. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how those go. The next book is, let me keep these off of the screen. I'm gonna try and reach, again, these are all, we'll see at the end of the month. how I get through March. We'll see. But this is This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno, which is about a a psychological thriller, I believe, but featuring a smart house, kind of like Amazon Alexa, and you know, Siri, like an evil Siri. Um, so yeah, we'll see. Also, trippy cover. Who is it? This publisher likes to do a lot of cool art covers and cover designs with their books. They published one of my current favorite authors, Jeff Vandermeer. And so this is another one. This again, the cover is just so cool, and I loved Born, and I was like, I'm ready to read more. But I'm like, I believe this gets more into the weirder avant-garde type writing that he does. So, but reading it so far, I'm like, oh, this is different. I'm like, how plot based, how focused are we gonna be in this book? You know. But yeah, which is about these, which is just about these three figures that feature in the Bourne novel, and but there's also like, again, messianic blue fox who slips through warrens of time and space on a mysterious mission. Like, yeah, like it starts off with that, and I read some of it, but I was like, okay, no, I need to sit down and focus. This is a book that I need to sit down and focus on what I'm reading. The next one I'm going to try and reach, again, another small one, is The Changeling by Victor Lavalle. This is I believe it's an Apple TV TV show, I think. I'm probably not going to watch it, but the premise interests me. Changelings are always a horrifying, creepy, and unsettling thing, because nothing is more gripping and more attention grabbing than children in danger, you know. And it's like, what happened to the children? Missing children in danger, like season 3 of True Detective. And what else? There's another movie, The Changeling. I think it's starring Angelina Jolie, and it's about how the FBI gaslit this woman into thinking like thinking that they found her son, but they didn't. And they gave her like this random kid that looks like her son, but was I was like, what the fuck? But this, I think, is more fantastical, mystical. I think this book came out after the movie, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I did love The Devil in Silver, and I hope I enjoy this as much. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. The next book I'm gonna try and read is a book my boyfriend read, and he kind of told me a bit of it, but he didn't spoil it. And that's Juniper and Thorn. Just another book just based off of the cover that interested me and that people talk about. I'm also curious to read The Wolf and the Woodsman. Just that one more off of the premise, and this one also off of the premise as well. But yeah, we'll see. If I like it, and I'll be like, let's see, Ava Reed. Let's see if we'll keep an eye out for your name, you know, for in the future. But we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I wish there was more tarot stuff. For the moment, I'm probably gonna only do tarot readings. I'll try and go live, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But that's all. This is slowly becoming a book channel, and I kind of am concerned about that. I might I might be like, is this going to be the start of the Tiger's Bookshelf 2.0? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. I can't do a book club though, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll think about it. We'll go through it. Let me know what you guys think of the books that I read and what books I have read through here, or what I'm going to try and read through in March. Let me know what you guys thought of what I read in February. If you read To Paradise, give me some feedback. Give me some input. I would like to hear other people's insight on it, because it's like, it's weird. Like I feel like I'm like, oh my god, like nothing's happening in this book, but I like it. You know. It's not like slice of life, but yeah. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your opinion on YA books are compared to their writing of other novels. Like, I think, yeah, I might go into Leigh Bardugo and read. If I'm gonna read anything from her, I'm probably gonna read Six of Crows. and I'd probably read the Ninth House, which is her uh, adult fiction book. So we'll we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I want to. There's just so much that I want to read that I'm like, we'll get to what I get to. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of those books. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video, or hopefully the next live stream. I really want to go live again and do live readings because it's been a minute. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.